Hi, welcome to Cobwebs and Chords. Today is day 4 of David's Tea Advent. We did it wrong again. All right, let's dive in. Day 4. 4. Everything smells so good, of course. All right, so what are we thinking for day 4? We started with a black tea, then we went herbal, then we went green. Maybe another black one? What do you see? Looks like green. Apple cider. Now I do want to talk about the bags versus how they used to do it, which was the little tins. But first, let's get this on our tree. Now, as we know, or most of us I guess know, David's Tea used to have little tins like this instead of this. But they didn't put strings on their boxes to make them into ornaments, but they did this time. So put this on first. Ow! Ooh! Tea is painful. So when we compare to previous years, it used to come in these little tins, and people were actually wondering, is it the same amount? Ooh. Ooh. I think maybe, but let's test that out. So as you can see, these are pretty full. So these would have been from years gone by that I just hadn't tested out. So that is the good thing. We're gonna see if I can actually test them all out this year with us doing them together. I do have an empty one. We're gonna see if this fits in there and what it looks like. I find these hard to get into sometimes. So this is apple cider, caffeine free it says, and it states that it's 1 to 2 perfect spoons. I'm gonna say that you're getting the same amount. All right, so now that we feel comfortable with that, let's just test to see actually how many perfect spoons it is. I'd say that's 1 perfect spoon. Today we're going to use a French press. Without the nice glass, you could still see everything. It gives it a little bit more room to breathe. I think they're right. It's still 2 perfect spoons. Let me get this cleaned up. Water goes in. Well, that's not perfect. What do you guys think of that? So do you guys usually use a French press for brewing your tea or not? I am actually a fan of using a French press for tea. I find it allows everything to, you know, percolate properly, and the brewing is perfect because nothing's trapped or confined to a bag or anything like that. And then you just plunge it and it's good to go. It does have a fine strainer, so usually there's no issues. My only concern or issue with using a French press is actually just the pain in the ass factor of cleaning it. So that's always, you know, just a pain. But, you know, if I just get over the laziness, I prefer this. So while we have a moment while this is brewing, why don't we discuss podcasts? I really enjoy podcasts, and there's 2 that I'm going to recommend to you. So the first one is Young House Love. Perhaps many of you have already heard of Young House Love with Sherry and John, and they do behind the scenes like renovations and host DIYs and stuff, and their podcast is amazing. They come out every Monday, and I think even if you didn't typically listen to podcasts, or if you do listen to podcasts and typically DIY wasn't your thing, I think that you would really enjoy John and Sherry. Sherry is so funny, and I think that with the combination of John and Sherry together, it's just perfect. The second podcast that I'm going to recommend is a new podcast, and they're still getting, I think, their feet. So getting their feet, is that what it's called? Don't you already have your feet? Getting your bearings? Finding your bearings? losing your footing, finding your footing. I have no idea. All right. It's called When's Food, and I found When's Food from following different YouTubers. So Becky and Chris being one of the YouTubers that I follow. They're formerly from Newfoundland, Canada, and now they're in Buffalo, New York. And I love watching their YouTube videos. They're amazing. They do a great job. They're super funny. Highly recommend their channel. And Becky then went and created a podcast with 3 of her friends. Of the 4 people doing the podcast, there is Becky from Becky and Chris's YouTube channel. There is Pat from Billy and Pat's YouTube channel, which I adore both of those couples, and I really enjoy watching their videos. As well as there's Nicholas and Lindsay, who I'm just starting to get to know, and I'm really enjoying their podcast. They're all cute and they go really well together, and I think that as they kind of get their feet or footing or bearings, I think it's just going to get better and better as they get more comfortable with it. So I would highly recommend checking out When's Food, the podcast. And they keep it real, which is great. Talking about real, it's time to plunge this. Here we go. Let's give it a go. This is called apple cider. Oh, hot. Apple cider, day 4. What do I think about it? What do you think about it first? It's very... it's almost like that artificial apple taste, of course. It's good. It's not my cup of tea. It's just a little bit too artificial for me, or sweet? I'm not quite sure. It kind of reminds me of a Jolly Rancher apple candies if they weren't sour. That's what this reminds me of. It's fine. So I'd probably give this about 5. Let me know what you think, if you enjoy David's Tea apple cider or not. And I hope to see you here tomorrow when hopefully, if all goes well, we can be checking out day 5 tomorrow. Okay. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. And until tomorrow, take care. Not my cup of tea.